Hello, people.
Hey
This is
guys.
a very special video.
Uh-huh.
So it'll be explaining.
Yeah.
You see, today, we've been working on this video for a long time.
A very long time.
We have watched all of the StarKid musicals because we're geeks. About musical theater. So today we've decided to share our opinions on which are the best, which are the worst, and what are our unpopular opinions. So we shall see. And if you're wondering about Maroon, they just did not have time to do this with us.
Yeah, so
But they have watched two of them on the road to Texas, which is where they are right now. So give them a hand for driving all that way from good old Southern California. So we're going to get into this, and I will insert Maroon's opinions. Well, the
okay.
few that they have. Okay. My least favorite show was MAMD. That's all I have to say. Next!
My 13th or least favorite would be The Solve It Squad Returns. I loved all of these, even though this is my least favorite. I thought it was very fun, and it was kind of and like I I don't really know much about Scooby Doo, so it wasn't really all that for me. So it's just kind of. But I really did enjoy it. It was very fun. So that's all I have to say.
My 13th, or almost last favorite. I'm saying all of these are favorite because all of them are great except one. We already covered that. The Solid Squad. I love Scooby Doo. Everybody who knows me knows that I love Scooby Doo so much. But I didn't love the show as much as I was hoping to. I thought it was very funny still. I thought the twist with Keith was very obvious. I don't know if it was supposed to be or not, but it was. I figured it out obviously. I thought Lauren as Esther was great, and I loved her storyline. But I just didn't really love Keith or Gwen, which dragged the whole thing kind of down for me. I loved Esther, and honestly, I think I would just love to see the Esther show because that would be great. But I still thought it was very good. I thought Brian Rosenhall being all the extra characters was funny. And overall, it was obviously good. It just wasn't my favorite. I still loved it though. So don't hate me because I know a lot of people love it, and I do too. Next.
Okay, so my uh second to least favorite, I loved them all, just so you know, was Annie, just because it just like I didn't like it was it had lots of dad puns, which was fun, but I wasn't a huge fan of that they didn't sing all the songs, but the songs that they did have that other people were singing were very catchy, and I was kind of sad that Lauren wasn't in this one because I like Lauren. She's awesome, and so I mean, it was funny. I loved it, actually, but it was just kind of meh for me. So that's pretty much it about that one.
Okay, my 12th pick is a Harry Potter musical. Now listen, I loved this musical when we saw it, and obviously it does hold a very special place in my heart. I know that sounds weird because we just watched them all, but it was the first one we saw. And actually, quick little side story, how I came up with this is that one of my favorite theater YouTubers, Amy Lovett. Comment down below, you know who she is. I love her. She uploaded a video called um, watching a Harry Potter musical. Why haven't I seen this before? And I saw like the first 2 minutes, and I was like, I'm sorry, Amy, but I have to watch this before you do that. And she's watched like all the StarKid musicals, and I just had to watch them for myself before I could watch those because I need to watch those, and I did afterwards, and they're great. So go watch her. But yeah, that's how this was inspired. But back to a Harry Potter musical. I really like this show. Obviously, the quality of the show wasn't as good as their regular shows, which is to be expected because it was their first recorded show, um, and they didn't have a huge budget. What really brought this one down for me was the songs. Um, I thought there was a few really good ones, but none that I loved. Like going back to Hogwarts and Voldemort is going down were good, but the rest were not great. And I mean, I still love the show, obviously, and I thought Lauren is Draco was hilarious. I don't love the Harry Potter books actually. So I like I like the Harry Potter musicals more than the books. So take that. uh, and I don't like the writer of the books, but that's another story. So overall, I did really like this show. It was originally, very high, obviously. I mean, it had to be. But it just wasn't as good as their later ones I found. But I still loved it. So that's it. Next.
So my 11th one was The Trail to Oregon. Um, so for most of the show, I thought it was very funny and just like a good small little cast. It had some good music, but then we got to the endings, and so how the show went is you got to choose the ending that the story comes, except the ending was the exact same thing, just with different characters, and it was kind of disgusting. And just we wanted it to be over. So that was just kind of disappointing. But other than like the ending, I enjoyed it. That's the really only
My 11th choice was also The Trail to Oregon. So for this show, um, I thought it was very mixed for me. I thought like some of the jokes were amazing. Like the part where Lauren puts like the gun in her mouth. That was oh my god, I laughed for like 5 minutes. Um, and half the time, like probably more than half the time, actually, the jokes were really really funny. But some of the jokes were just not great. Like the ending, like Izzy, I hated the ending, and I wanted to be over. I wish it was like different because it sucked. Though Lauren's version of "You Gotta Go" was sung very well. It was just not good. But overall, I did like the show. Same thing with the music for me. I thought of some of the songs were awesome, like "Wagon on Fire," "Speed Run," um, when the world's at stake. Oh my god, they were great. But some of them were not great. Like the pays to be an animal made me really, really uncomfortable, and I didn't like that. Um, and that's no offense to Corey, of course. Just it was I did not like the theme. Um, and Cock Your Wagon, meh. Overall, I liked it. Obviously, I thought more of the show was good than not good, but some of these are just so amazing that mixed doesn't really get to the top. I still loved it though. Don't kill me.
So this one, is my 10th one. And so this one, Sam and I actually had very different opinions about, but my 10th one is Twisted. Um, I love Aladdin, and it is probably one of my favorite movies slash musicals of all time. But this one, I still loved it. It just between all the other musicals, it just sunk down, and it was kind of disappointed to see it sink. But okay, so my 10th one is Twisted, which Sam and I had very different opinions about. But I was kind of sad that it sunk so far down, even though I love this one so much. So Jasmine was amazing. It had a great couple, which was Jafar and the girl whose name I can never remember. Um, and then and then it had some it was very sweet at times, and it was I didn't understand all the jokes just because I'm a bit younger, but I still thought it was hilarious, and I was laughing through a lot of it, and so, yeah, that's all I have to say.
Okay. My my 10th pick. I know a lot of you are gonna disagree, if you've seen because everybody seems to love this, but my 10th pick was Spies Are Forever from Tin Can Bros. Now listen, I did enjoy this musical, obviously. I thought it was very good, and, I really liked, the LGBTQ part. That was if the twist I did not see coming, and I loved it. I thought the twist with the villain was really well done. I loved Barb. She was crazy, and I loved it. Um, and the songs, they weren't really my cup of tea, but I still enjoyed them, obviously. They just aren't really my style. Um, I thought all the portrayals were amazing. I loved Cynthia. Um, Overall, it was just really good, obviously. It just wasn't as good as the ones coming up for me. I still did love it, obviously, but I just didn't find it as enjoyable as people say it is. Still loved it though, just saying.
Okay, so my ninth one is very close to Sam's, but not quite, and it is Spies Are Forever. And I this isn't as popular, but I enjoyed it a little bit more than Sam. So I'm not a big fan of like spy movies, but I enjoyed this one a lot, and I actually enjoyed the songs quite a bit. I mean, I didn't love all of them. There are a few that were kind of but I liked the choreography, the characters are awesome, and, the set was really cool in my opinion, and so, it was very hard choosing between Spies Are Forever and Twisted, but I eventually just came to the decision, and so, yeah, that's about it.
Okay. My number 9 was Annie. I really, really liked this show. Well, I loved getting to see Denise in a big part again because I thought she was great in Starship. Um, I really I loved how much of a dad show this was. I think my dad would love it. I loved how Jar Jar was done, and that was sad. Um, I mean, although they weren't sung by the characters, the songs were so good. Like One in a Million is probably one of my favorite StarKid songs. It was really great. I loved You Got the First and dun, dun. Overall, it was just really amazing. And I'm so glad that I got to see it because it was such a joy bringer, It just almost all of these made just it made me feel so warm inside, which was so nice. And I love just a side note about StarKid in general. I love how, warm they make me feel, which is funny because there are so many curse words and stuff, but it just it's so wholesome in a way that it just makes me feel so much better. And this was definitely a show that did that. And I thought I loved the way Annie's character arc was done. I loved the romance. Um, I'm a very big romance person. So overall, I just really liked the show. I thought it was really funny and cute. I love seeing Denise and her dreams. I'm happy she got them, even though they were a bit wonky. And overall, I just really liked it. So Um, I just didn't think it was as amazing as some of the ones higher on this list. Still loved it though, and I think it's very underrated because everybody seems to hate it. Done.
Okay, so my 8th one is a Harry Potter musical. So I am a huge Harry Potter fan. I am Um, currently reading the 7th book, but I mean, I kinda know how it ends. I've gotten enough spoilers. Anyways, so I thought the casting was pretty good with Lauren as Draco, because that was how we got introduced to her, and she's just so amazing, and then I thought it was very entertaining, and one thing I don't really know if I enjoyed this or not, but it kinda jumped around on the books/movies, but I thought it was very goofy and just very just I just thought it was kinda cool how they made a Harry Potter musical, and I know they made more, but, like, this one just was kinda stood out a little bit more because it was, like, the first one that you saw, so that's just kind of my opinion on it. I don't yeah, so that's next one then.
Okay, so I have another very, very unpopular opinion here, but my eighth pick is a Harry Potter sequel. Now, listen, I did really, really enjoy this show. I thought the only reason why it's a bit further down than I thought it was going to be is because looking back, I feel like it dragged on a bit at parts. Like it's so long, which Harry Potter Senior Year also did, but it dragged on a bit, and that just brought it a bit down for me. And I thought Umbridge was very funny, but some of the jokes were not socially acceptable. But it was 10 years ago, so I get it. But still, some of the jokes with Umbridge made me a bit uncomfortable. But overall, I thought she was very funny. I liked Lupin. Overall, I thought it was a very funny show. The songs were definitely an improvement over the first one. They weren't StarKid's best songs, obviously, but they were still really, really good, and I loved them. And like Harry freaking Potter was a jam. And overall, I did really like this show. I miss the relationships. That was, in my opinion, the strongest part of a Harry Potter musical, which I forgot to mention, of course. The ships. I loved the ships in that one, and I felt like they were kind of missing here, which was sad. But I loved Draco a lot in this one too. I think this was Draco's best of the three musicals because he had the most stage time and the most importance in the plot. And that was cool because I love Lauren so much. Um, you're probably gonna hear that so many times in this video. We love Lauren. We love Lauren. But we do. And overall, I did love the show. It was so hard to rank all of these after and including this one because they're all so good. But this one just had to be here, and I'm sad that it was because I loved it so much, and I will definitely be coming back to it in the future.
Okay, so my 7th one is Firebringer. So I like this, so my first note down is that Lauren is awesome. She has a very big role to play in this, which is just awesome. So, I personally loved the costumes for some reason. I don't know why, I just felt like they were so creative, and so, yeah, I thought it was very funny, and I liked the storyline, and then the ending was just kind of like, cause like sorry, spoiler alert, but, like, Chorn was just, like, this not really huge character, and then it just, like, what the heck happened in the end? I still loved it, and this is just awesome, and I was a lot of these I'm really sad that to see them just sink lower on my list, but they're just all so amazing, and I loved all of them, even the Solid Squad Returns, which is my least favorite. But I still loved it so much, so just pointing that out, and that's all I have to say. Let's go to the next one.
So my number seven is also Firebringer. And I loved this show so much. Like Izzy said, I thought the set and the props and the costumes were all so well done. And I just loved how creative they were. This felt like one of the most creative ones. because it was so original. Um, and StarKid's known for their parodies. Um, for this one, I felt like obviously I loved Lauren because she was, a large role and I love her. So, and she was hilarious this whole time. Most of the jokes I would say were super, super funny. But there was a few things which we will mention in the unpopular opinions that just um, but overall, I loved it. I thought the narrator was hilarious. I don't know who she was, but I wish she was in more because I think this was the only one she was in, and I loved her. Um, but she was so funny, and I thought the walking around the earth was funny. And honestly, I think this probably has not my favorite, but probably the best written and musically impressive songs in Star Kid's book. Um, just the story I loved, obviously, but it wasn't as good as ones that are higher on this list. And I loved Grunt and Emberly. They were probably one of my favorite parts of this musical. They were probably one of my favorite ships. They were just so good and cute, and I loved them. And I will share more on that in the opinions video later on.
Okay, so my next one, also known as number 6, is Starship. So I loved the puppets. I didn't think they were very creepy. I actually thought they were very cute and creative. And so I like the sci-fi thing because I love those kind of things. Just kind of the kind of like almost, and it's just creative. And then um the songs were much better than expected. They were just so catchy, and I was like tapping my foot the entire way through all of the songs. And so I love the story. I just thought that was very creative. The characters are awesome, and yeah, it's just so amazing. So
Okay, my number 6, surprisingly enough, was also Starship. I didn't realize we had that in the same spot. But I love this show so much, and I think in terms of overall production value, with set, costumes, puppets, everything, this is the highest quality StarKid show overall. Other than the cameras. The cameras obviously were not the greatest. They were fine. Um, definitely better than the other ones. Um, but I thought the set and the costumes and puppets were just so impressive. It was crazy. I loved the romance in this one. It was so good. Um, I mean, there was a few cliches in it, but they were done so well. I couldn't care less. Um, the romance was just so good, and the songs, ooh, the songs were so amazing. I wish there were more of them, because sadly there wasn't all that many. I loved what we did get, obviously, but I wish there were more because it was so good. Darren Chris did an awesome job with this one. He knocked it out of the park. Um, and I loved the show so much. I thought it was very funny. I loved the dramatic bits. It felt like a perfectly balanced drama and humor. February was brilliant, probably one of my favorite Star Kid actors, and I thought Denise did like an amazing job of portraying her, especially because she was apparently sick, which I didn't know till after, and like that's crazy because she was amazing. Um, and I just loved the show so much. And originally it was like my number 3, I believe. But sadly, there was a few that outdid it, and I still love it very, very much. Obviously, and all of these will hold a special place in my heart for a very long time.
okay, so my fifth one is a Harry Potter senior year. So this is a staged reading, but it was just done awesomely, and I you can't do a stage reading better than the way they did it. And so I liked that they had the Luna Lovegood from the movies because I just think that's so cool. Because I love the movies. And then I didn't think she was as terrible as people said, which we'll probably talk about later. And then they changed Hermione's, and personally, I like the old Hermione better, from Harry Potter sequel and Harry Potter musical. And then the acting was pretty good, and I at parts I forgot it was a stage reading just because it was done so well. And so It was very cute, and that's pretty much it for me.
Okay, so my number 5 is Holy Musical Batman. This musical was a ride. It was so fun. It was so funny. It was so wholesome compared to the other ones. Um, the only thing that I found was a bit sad for me was the fact that there sadly was no romance, which I love. I love romance, but I'm glad that they did something creative and focused on platonic relationships instead of romantic, which was very cool. I thought it was so funny. It used to be actually my number one, but there was just so many good ones after it. I still love it so much, and this is probably the most rewatchable musical, down to the fact that whatever mood you're in, this is perfect. If you're sad, it makes you happy. If you're happy, it makes you happier. It's just so good, and I love the music so much. It was so fun and catchy and bops. The finale with the overlaps was crazy awesome. Um, and that gets stuck in my head all the time. Overall, I just really love this musical, and I wish it could still be my number one. But there's just so many good ones. But I still do love this musical, and I'll probably be rewatching it so much.
Okay, so my number 4, we're getting into the top 5 here. So my number 4 was a Harry Potter sequel. So I loved this musical. I thought the music started off really strong. I thought the songs were much better than a Harry Potter musical. It's kind of mixing the books. As Sam said earlier, the Umbridge jokes, some of them were a little uncomfortable, but I mean, it's 10 years ago. It's 2020 now. And so I I liked that the dancing I thought was much better. I thought was very enjoyable and funny. I thought the actors were all great. I thought that the songs were great. I just thought everything was really great, but it wasn't my first one because I had to save those top 3 spaces for some other musicals that are also just amazing. And so let's go to the next one.
Okay, so my number 3 was a very Potter senior year, which is so surprising because I don't like, well, I don't not like, but I don't love Harry Potter. But I was bawling my eyes out at the end of this one. I don't know why. It just felt like such a journey we'd gone through with them, and like the fan service was so good. I loved Quirrell being back with Voldemort. That was so cute. The ending was so nice. There was like one song I didn't like, the Aragog song with the "Get in My Mouth" because that felt kind of random. But other than that, all the songs were amazing. I didn't really care. It was a staged reading. I mean, it was still great, so I don't care. I thought that I loved the new Hermione. I thought she was just as good as Bonnie, and I love Meredith. So Um, yeah, I just thought it was so good, and it made me cry, and Lauren Distracka was great, and the Dora thing was hilarious. Probably my favorite StarKid joke. Honestly, it was so funny. The Mystic Lore. Um, and it was just so good. I loved it so much. Uh, the songs were so great. The casting was great. And they looked like they were having so much fun up there. Like, oh my god, it looked like they were having the most fun they'd had in years. Which I could definitely tell they were. The singing was great. I loved Ron in this one. I just could go on and on about how much I love this. And it was my first one, but two others beat it, sadly. And I wish it could still be my number one because I loved it so much. But there are just two that I love just a teensy little bit more. And I will definitely be rewatching this over and over again.
Okay, so now we're getting into the top 3, which is really exciting actually. So, surprisingly about how much I'm a big Harry Potter fan, none of them were in my top 3. But my number 3rd is Holy Musical Batman. I worded that really wrong, didn't I? Well, it's Holy Musical Batman, and so I thought it was so fun having a superhero musical. I loved the villain personally. I just thought he was so fun, and ah. And then it was very fast paced and like there were no slow songs, and I actually thought it fit quite well. And I didn't mind that there wasn't much romance because it's not as big of a deal for me as it is for Sam. And so like it had catchy songs, and I definitely had some stuck in my head for the next week or so. So that was really fun. So this is probably I had the least notes just because I loved it so much, and it was at my first for a while, but then so many more musicals came and it was just so hard to decide. So let's go to the next one. Woohoo!
Okay, so my number four, and these were so hard to rank. And I love this one so much, but sadly it had to be number four, and that was Black Friday. I love this musical. I thought the songs were so good. We'll get to that later. I thought overall it was so good. The story was done so well. The set was amazing. The costumes are great. I loved Linda. She was probably my favorite character. She was hilarious. Um, there were a few things. The one thing that dragged the show a bit down for me was that after Linda died, it just wasn't funny. It was so serious, which felt strangely out of place. Like, hello? Comedy, are you home? Are you there? Hello? I'm scared you've gone missing. So that was kind of weird for me. But overall, I did really love this show. The acting was great. Obviously, the singing was.
Take me back to high school. Take me back in time. Light my heart and light my shadow. One more night, 'cause I already lost in once what I've already won. I've lost too much now to care, but I know that something's still there. I'll never let you go. I'll never let you go. I'll never let you go now.
I'm so glad Dylan was back because he did great. Obviously, um, overall, it was just such a great show, and I loved it so much. And I'll definitely be rewatching it again.
Okay, so my second one, which is the silver medal of these for me, would be who didn't like musicals. So I thought that this was so cool. I loved the choreography. It was like the best. The beginning was awesome. I liked the story. I like sci-fi horror kind of madness all mixed into one, and I love all of those kind of things. So I had really catchy songs. It had great actors. It so I have a very odd note in my notes here. I said the gut effects were awesome because it just had these like gut stuff going on, and I thought that was cool. So I enjoyed it a whole lot. I just the way that they did it was just awesome. And so yeah, well, that's it. So next one. So
Okay, so my number two, and these two are apparently extremely generic, so excuse me, but my number two was the guy who didn't like musicals. I loved this show. It was so good, and I wasn't expecting it to be this good. I was like, oh, it's a new one. I'll probably not like it as much. I've heard some mixed things about like Black Friday, so I don't know about this one. And it was so good. It blew me out the park. Like, it was so much better than I expected. The songs were all so great. I loved the creepiness. I thought, unlike Black Friday, I think it had a bit of a better mix of seriousness and funny. I thought Emma was like the perfect balance of serious and funny. I thought all the songs were great, obviously. Um, I really didn't expect it to end dark. So that was a shocker, and it was great. And overall, it was just so good. And I don't really have much to say because overall, it was just so great. I don't really have any notes on it that were critical. Oh, one thing. I loved Not Your Seed, but it felt a little out of place because we don't know her at all. So that was a bit weird because it was like, why does it hurt to love you? And we're like, where is this coming from? We don't know you at all. But other than that, I thought it was such a great musical and definitely one I'll be rewatching all the time.
Okay, so my number one, which is gold medal wins all, is drumroll please. I can't do a drumroll sound. Black Friday.
Bring me the child.
I thought it was kind of creepy, but I like creepy. It was kind of a confusing start, and it wasn't connected to the guy who didn't like musicals, which was kind of like a because it was like the same place and they had the same characters. I mean, they weren't in it as much, but still. And then they it was not as funny. It was a little bit more serious, which I'm actually kind of surprised that it was so high and it was more serious. But because I love comedy, but I loved it. So it had pretty good choreography. It was a bit confusing at the start, and it was just like so dramatic and crazy, and I just loved the story and just like everything that was going on, and it was just like whoa, and it was just I loved it so much. So yeah, that's all.
My number one, which should come as no surprise to anybody who knows me, is Twisted. Wicked is my favorite musical of all time, and I love Aladdin. So of course I was gonna love this. And that actually applies to Izzy, as Wicked is also one of her favorite musicals. So I'm shocked that it was so low on her list, but I loved it. I thought this was definitely Dylan's best role by a landslide. He did so amazing. Aladdin was Jeff Blim was so good. Oh my god, the princess and Prince Ahmed were so funny. Like I can't. They were so hilarious and I loved them so much. All the songs were so well written and really musically impressive. Some of them felt like they could be in a Disney musical or a Disney movie. They were just so good. And I could go on and on about the show. There was one little thing, but it wasn't really major, so I didn't really care, that I didn't really like, but we'll get to that later. But overall, this show was just a 10 out of 10 for me. I thought it was funny. I thought it, like the guy who didn't like musicals, it had that perfect balance of seriousness and humor that I loved. I thought it had the best "Don't Come for Me" romance, or at least one of the best, with Sherazade and Jafar. That was so well done and such a great twist that I didn't expect. It was so good, and I loved the opening with the Beauty and the Beast references and him holding the spell book from Twisted. It was just, I could go on and on, but major lesson. The show was great, and I loved it, and I'm mad at Izzy for not loving it as much as I do. But I loved it so much, and I'll definitely be rewatching it all the time. My unpopular opinion for a Harry Potter musical is I thought the best actor in it was Brian Rosenhall as Quirrell. Don't Come for Me. I thought everybody was great, but he just really stood out to me. You go, Izzy.
Oh, sorry. My unpopular opinion for this is that. So my unpopular opinion for a Harry Potter musical was that I found it kind of annoying that it jumped around some of the books. I like them separately. Like at least you could do like the first book in the beginning of the show and the second book in the middle of the show and the third book at the end of the show or whatever. Just kind of keep them at least a little bit separated because it was kind of confusing and just kind of for someone who loves Harry Potter is just kind of like a little annoying. So that's it. Okay.
Unpopular opinions for a Harry Potter sequel. Mine was that my favorite song was No Way which they sing when they're time traveling and it's a quartet. I thought it was so catchy and the vocals were so good and I just loved it so much.
So my unpopular opinion is that my favorite character in this, not actor, because that would be Lauren, because I love Lauren, but the favorite character would be Snape. Just I think it was just so it just added this perfect little element to the show, and it was just I don't know what to say. It was just awesome.
Okay, Starship. I thought that the thing with the commander and you have to be tougher, other than the song, was just kind of boring and it was super super long and it took up like 30 minutes of the show and I'm like it wasn't that interesting. So those were definitely my least favorite parts of the show and that's what dragged it down a little bit in my ranking.
And so my unpopular opinion about Starship is that most of the commanders were just not very interesting. They were kind of boring and just kind of there. And so it's just kind of like, what? Why are you here? There's no reason.
Okay, so for this one, I have two little opinions because they're not super crazy. One was that I thought the Rogues Are We reprise was better than the first one. I don't know, it just was more catchy to me. Uh, and second was that I didn't like Candy. Um, my favorite animated character of all time is classic Harley Quinn, and obviously Sweet Tooth and Candy were supposed to be replacements of Harley and Joker. Uh, and I thought they did Sweet Tooth really well, but I wasn't in love with Candy. She just wasn't very funny.
So my unpopular opinion is that like there were some other little like side villains other than Sweet Tooth and Candy, and I really wasn't a big fan of them. They didn't really do much, and they're just kind of unimportant.
Okay. Okay. A Very Potter senior year. My popular opinion was that I thought Hermione was written a lot better in this one than in the other ones. I thought she did more things that seemed like Hermione. And the second thing that I have is I thought this one had the strongest plot. Like it feels like there was like an actual like backbone to the show as opposed to like random kind of little scenes with little tiny plots. I felt like there was a main plot with the snake for once, because it was a lot of book two influence, of course. So I thought it had the most plot out of all three.
My unpopular opinion is that so I know everyone thinks Luna is really bad, but I thought she was really funny because like she had that kind of thing where like you're saying it and you don't realize that it's funny and like it just is hilarious. And I didn't think her singing was that bad. I thought it was nice. So that's my unpopular opinion.
Okay, twist it. My unpopular opinion is that I didn't really love the genie. That was the one thing for me. I didn't think he was very funny.
My unpopular opinion is that the Aladdin by himself with Jasmine, I thought they were really kind of cute, but like by himself, the Aladdin didn't do it all for me. I just think he was just kind of eh, just as a character. So
For Annie, we both have the same unpopular opinion, really.
yeah.
And that was that both of us thought that this was one of the best choreographed shows in terms of dancing, obviously. So
I think part of it had to do with they didn't have to sing.
Yeah, so they could do a lot harder dance moves.
Yeah.
Like a lot of StarKid's earlier musicals did not have amazing choreography.
Yeah. It was there, but it wasn't really like blow your face away.
Yeah, it was kind of just like walk in a circle or something.
Walk in a circle and put your hands up.
Yeah.
Ooh, that sounds super exciting.
Okay, Trail to Oregon. My least favorite characters were the grandpa and the daughter. I just think they didn't have that many jokes. What they did have wasn't that great. And I think both of them are such good actors and deserved better writing.
Okay, so my unpopular opinion, I agree with Sam, but I have another one, which is that I think that the mom and the son were just like the best written characters and they were just very funny. And then Yeah, so
Okay, for Firebringer, we both have the same.
we agree
Not
again.
even sure if this is that unpopular, but we both hated Swoopsy. We wanted
Yeah,
her.
Shoopsy was.
We both wish that she would have gotten taken by the snarl and that they would have
Yeah.
just left her there to die.
Yeah,
Like
just
we don't care about
Swoopsy,
her.
Just kill
She just
Swoopsy
wasn't
already.
funny. And same goes for Smelly Balls. At least for me, I didn't think he was very funny at all.
Yeah,
But he definitely wasn't as bad as Swoopsy.
Yeah, Shoopsy was the worst.
Ugh. Okay, Spies Are Forever. We both
Mhm.
hated. Nazis aren't so bad. We know that it's supposed to be a parody, but it was so uncomfortable. And I love the Tin Can Bros. I love them all. They're all such great people.
Me
but
too.
It just, and that song did not sit right with either of us. Uncomfortable theming. For both of us in the Solvent Squad. The thing is that we both throughout the show were just wondering how they transformed Gwen so well, because we both think that she looked 13 in the first part, and then in the second part she didn't look 13, she looked 30. She looked older.
Do you have a time machine?
Okay, so the guy who didn't like musicals. Our unpopular opinions are, mine was, I honestly, I didn't think, like I said before in my thing, I didn't think Not Your Seed was that great. I mean, musically it was good. It was kind of catchy. It was a bop. But it felt kind of random when it was like deep emotional part. I'm like, we don't even know who you are. You've been in this musical for like 2 minutes.
Okay, so my unpopular opinion is I don't really like Paul. Like, yes, he's very important to the story and he's good for the story, but just as a character, I don't think he's all that great of just a character in general. It's just.
And finally, for Black Friday, we have the same one again, and that is that we both think that Deck the Halls in Merfolk Hive is one of the best songs from it.
Yeah, it was just so good.
It was so fun.
It was so fun.
And honestly, before I realized it was a movie, I was like, how does this relate to the story?
Yeah,
but felt so random, but like it was so fun, I didn't really care.
Yeah, which is the same reason you didn't like I'm Not Your Seed, but they did this kind of randomness very well. So
yeah, because it actually, but it wasn't like it was like emotional about the characters.
Yeah, and like they had it earlier that they're going to the movie theater to see
Santa Goes to High School. I just didn't catch that.
Yeah, I caught it, but it's just kind of in the back of my mind, and I think they did that so well, and it's just so fun. And
okay, so that is the end of this video. This took forever to make, so we really, really hope you liked it. I hope you guys have a very great holiday. Hopefully this will be released on the 25th. Hopefully.
Hopefully.
Because this is going to take a lot of editing. So please like and subscribe and comment if you liked it, and comment your thoughts on the StarKid musicals below if you've seen them.
And go check out my channel, link in the description.
Yep, Izzy's channel will be in the description. We'll probably be doing a little something over there.
We do some fun stuff over there, so go subscribe.
Yep, go subscribe. We love you guys so much. See you guys next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.